yeah, May the 4th.
Hi, everyone. Happy belated May the 4th to one and all.
Yeah, we're recording this on May the 4th. Why am I so quiet?
I don't know.
Shh. What was the wind?
The wind. I feel like we do one Family Guy reference every
We
episode.
redo that reference all the fucking time.
Yeah, hello, everyone. Sorry, we'll get the energy back up.
What was the question you just asked me?
Oh, what world would you rather live in, Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Yeah, I'm a Star Trek.
No, dude. Okay, hold on a second.
You're just a civilian. You're not a Skywalker.
I can't be a Jedi.
You're not a Kirk. You might be, but like,
yeah,
okay.
I know. That's what I was like. Wait a second. Like, I was like, I say Star Wars because, like, of course I'm a fucking Jedi.
Yeah, no. Like, so you D&D roll the dice, and that creates your character. So it can be anything from.
So if I roll the dice and I'm not a Jedi, can I go to Star Trek, or do I have to like choose Star Wars and I just take the gamble?
You have to take the gamble. There's a bunch of stuff in Star Wars I wouldn't want to be, so I'm gonna go with Star Trek.
Know.
Like, I wouldn't really want to be a Hutt. I wouldn't. I mean,
yeah, but like when you go to Star Trek, you're getting like.
I'll be a fucking Romulan.
No, it's like, I don't know. It's like then you're getting like philosophical and like political, and it's like.
Star Wars is political, just not as political.
Yeah. There's the whole argument with like between like Star Wars and Star Trek is like I always felt like Star Trek, the show itself, it represented a lot more of like it was more about like morality.
Yeah, but
and
it's also
ethics and like a little bit political stuff
and exploration and science.
Well, yeah, no, because it's a one giant political agenda of exploring space.
Yeah,
in a peaceful way, which is cool, And there's a lot of like, morally and ethically like conundrum stuff that can be brought up, especially Next Generation.
Well, yeah,
but like Star Wars itself is just like it's like an epic poem of like action and fun and
adventure. It's an odyssey.
Yeah.
So what's your pick?
Can it just be Indiana Jones?
No, because you can't be Indiana Jones. With that one, you're rolling dice on being a Nazi at that point. So no, you can't do Indiana Jones. You can't do Indiana Jones because that wasn't the question.
I just wanted to piss you off. Oh man. No, I think it would be Star Wars because even though if I can't be a Jedi, if I could I would just want to fucking find some lightsabers, dude. And just play around some lightsabers.
Yeah, but remember the old thing? You couldn't. I don't know if that's not the case anymore.
No,
you couldn't use a lightsaber unless you were force sensitive.
Yeah, I think that was thrown out on canon even before
the takeover.
Yeah, I think because Grievous, he's not force sensitive, but he's collecting the lightsabers as
able to use
his bounties. Yeah. So yeah, Star Wars. I say Star Wars.
Okay, I say Star Trek. I know on May the 4th, how blasphemous, but
now you're more of a Star Trek. All right, guys, this is Jacob.
This is Tommy. This is Jacob and Tommy's mixtape.
Whoa!
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our part two of...
Part two. I'm like, part two of what?
The word was editor.
Editor, which this one I feel editor makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, it does.
Because it's based off of a
book.
true crime novel.
Yeah, we are reviewing 2007's Zodiac. Again, this is a movie I own, but never have seen.
Did you find the DVD?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
okay,
watched
you
the
did.
DVD. Yeah.
We didn't get that fully clear when we were talking earlier.
Yeah, no, I found the DVD. And it was in that. It was in one of those. Blockbuster had the little lock mechanism.
Still the lock mechanism?
No, it wasn't in there, but it had the whole.
Oh, so you about to use with that?
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
Yes, well, yeah. Zodiac, which came out March 2nd, 2007. I had two premieres in New York, one in LA, February 20th and March 1st, which I thought was kind of interesting. I guess, whatever, Hollywood.
It's only a couple days apart, too.
They're consecutive.
Yeah.
Yep.
First edit note of the day.
Right? All right. So its ratings throughout the interwebs were on IMDb, has a 7.7. Rotten Tomatoes has an 89% tomato meter rating, 77% audience score, and then Metacritic I saw had a 78 meta score. So it's all high 70s, more or less. Actually, I should do an average. Start doing an average. Add those all together and do an average.
Yeah.
See what it looks like.
Yeah, you can do that.
Box office wise, it was number 81 domestically and number 64 worldwide. I was actually surprised by that.
Yeah, because even then the budget was $65 million. It grossed $83 million worldwide. Domestically, 33. Internationally, 50.
Strange.
So, and yeah, for being a American serial killer that's still an open case technically.
David Fincher, this is post Seven and whatnot. He had a huge following of just being a really good filmmaker, and I could see just it being a serial killer. That's kind of just a captivating subject worldwide. If you in a way, I feel like it's more of an American a concept for us to kind of romanticize these things in a fucking weird way. But
it's if it started in late 60s and then let's say you were 25 and then 1970, then what? So 70, 80, 90, 2007.
3 decades
so
later.
You're in your 50s. Would you be over it, or would you be more interested in watching a modern retelling of the events that you were a young adult for?
I think I think just seeing it kind of retold, or seeing parts of the story that maybe you never knew about type thing. Also, Grace Smith's book was a bestseller. I think what it is just there might be that we are unaware of in across the seas. That since the Zodiac is such a notoriously uncaught serial killer, who he could be is still such a mystery technically. That could be a thing. Just it's a worldwide notorious case. You know what I mean?
I love that we're totally speculating on this case. It's a lot of speculation.
Can we just say speculation for the rest of the episode? Just speculation.
Never mind, the word was speculation. That
is interesting. That's very interesting.
Also, that came out. We did 2007. Last time we did was Shoot 'Em Up.
No, we just recently did it.
Did we?
Yeah. Because I was looking, I was like, oh yeah, we did it for. Oh, it was Bug.
Bug was 2007.
Yeah, well, it was 2006 and 2007.
Right, that was that weird one. Oh, okay, yeah,
but I did the count for 2007, which was 45.
That you've seen?
Yeah.
This 91.
Yeah, you had me way up on that.
Yeah. Also came out this year: Pirates of the Caribbean 3, Order of the Phoenix, Spider-Man 3, which I did the same note you did. This SP3. Oh, I was like, right, Spider-Man.
But yeah, since we've done 2003 a couple of times now.
7.
2009.
You said 2003.
2014.
Is it because I said Spider-Man 3? Anyways,
1968 to 1969.
So synopsis. A look into the lives of investigators who obsessed over a killer in California for over a decade.
Nice. I have a quick question for you before we kind of begin. Have you ever talked about this with your parents at all? About the Zodiac Killer? Has your mom ever brought it up, or your dad? I don't think you ever really talk about it. Because,
the one killer that I remember really talking about with my mom
was probably Ramirez.
No, Ramirez never. Actually, no. This would be interesting to talk to her because she lived in California for all of these.
Yeah, exactly. That's fine.
I think she lived in all of them. I remember her bringing up the Golden State.
Okay.
We talked about the Golden State briefly. And I think that was when that documentary had just come out.
That makes sense.
The big one.
It's I could see Zodiac being a little bit of a reach because your mom was born in in the early 60s or so, or late 50s.
I don't know, because I think my mom would find the whole riddle me this part of it very interesting.
Yeah. Sorry. Just I always kind of connected it, but as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, yep, it's officially there now.
Yeah, it's really there. Also, entirely creeps me out that we're weirdly doing a true crime movie review podcast thing, and
halfway
and
the Batman's out with Riddler.
No, that he was never caught.
Oh,
technically,
yeah.
So in theory, he could still be out there, and that creeps me out.
Nah, I honestly, I really think he's dead.
It's a high chance of that.
Yeah, like, and let's be real. But yeah, let's go into
But you're gonna get a call later.
just and heavy breathing.
So Jacob, we're not gonna hang out for a minute. Gonna get you a gun and you stay at home.
Okay, so let's get into the logistics here. Let's go into the who's directing everything. So as we already said, or as I already brought up, movie is directed by David Fincher, who, if you're not familiar with him, like I said, he's directed Seven, Fight Club, The Social Network. Recently did on Netflix the series Mindhunters, which he was a producer for. I don't think he only directed a couple episodes. Yeah, he only directed 2 episodes. But he was like the mind behind that. And Mindhunters is really cool. So, hey, we're doing a Zodiac. If you guys want to, and you like serial killers, watch Mindhunters. Because it's about how the term serial killer was created and how pretty much profiling serial killer was created. But what was really interesting about David Fincher I saw was how he started in music videos and how many goddamn music videos he directed before he got his official movie debut directorial debut with Alien 3.
In my opinion, the worst of the franchise.
Oh, 100%.
I like Alien 4 more.
Resurrection? I say Resurrection or Resurrections? I think it's Resurrections.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever, cloned Ripley.
Yeah, like I liked, because that one wasn't great, but it was interesting. Alien 3, it didn't care.
Also, the weird alien hybrid thing in
The dog alien.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. It'll be forever burned to my memory how it gets killed.
How does it get killed?
They shoot a bullet hole into the wall of the spacecraft, and just enough air is like going in it, and then like its back gets sucked into it, and then it slowly gets sucked through a bullet hole, essentially.
I'll do it.
Yeah, right.
Girl with the Dragon Tattoo remake, Gone Girl, Panic Room.
Really, a lot more stuff that I've seen by David Fincher that I didn't really fully realize, like Panic Room.
But it's one of those, I didn't realize it until I read it, and then I went, oh yeah. Yeah, okay. I see it. Like, I feel that. Like, I feel
it's like
that
there's
vibe.
definitely things where it's like, I'm like, oh, this is definitely David Fincher. But things that I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that was David Fincher.
Yeah.
He's strangely probably like just by default one of my favorite directors. And I mean my default, like I just unconsciously liked a lot of movies. Well, liked a lot of his movies unconsciously knowing that he's directed them.
Yeah, like I've seen a lot of his movies not going, oh, he directed that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Del Toro, I'll watch anything because he's directing it.
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of his stuff just because I'm like, I like the vibe of this.
Yeah.
You know?
So, yeah, we're fans, David Fincher. Yeah. Let's go into. Do you have anything else about Fincher?
That was it.
And then so the screenplay was written by James Vanderbilt, who I just wrote down 4 of his movies that kind of stuck out to me. Darkness Falls.
Love that movie.
I don't fully remember it. I think I only saw it in theaters, and then it was just kind of like in and out. That was the Lighthouse one, right?
Yeah, the Tooth Fairy Ghost Vengeful Spirit thing, and it was it's visually really creepy. She's really terrible.
Does it hold up visually? I remember watching and thinking it was kind of cheesy, I think.
I don't want to say yes or no just because it was one of my growing up horror movies, so I have a nostalgic love for it.
You know, that's interesting because you just said it had really cool visuals. I remember thinking the visuals were kind of bleh.
Yeah.
When I was in high school seeing it. So I wonder if that was
as a kid, maybe it just kind of
stuck out to you more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because how old was I?
You had to be like at least 10.
I was like 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like 12, it was a good. Also, the whole Tooth Fairy thing.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was a cool concept.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And then I was very surprised to see The Rundown.
Love that movie.
That movie's great.
That movie's amazing.
Sean William Scott is fucking hilarious in that.
Christopher Walken's
a little bit of lightning, a little bit of thunder. Where are we gonna go? Pops her in the face.
Christopher Walken's a good bad guy in that.
Yeah.
Dwayne Johnson's Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah. You know? Also, The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, the Andrew Garfield ones, and he recently was one of the one of the writers on the reboot of Scream.
Reboot.
Reboot.
Sequel.
Reboot sequel.
Reboot.
I mean, they
sequel?
talk about it in there. It's like,
it's a reboot sequel.
What do they call it? A re-sequel or something?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and then this is.
We actually wrote down all the same things.
Really?
Yeah.
And then this was based on a book that was written by Robert Graysmith, who was He's a true crime writer. Well, became a true crime writer after being a cartoonist for the San Francisco Chronicle.
Well, and he worked at the San Francisco Chronicle while this was all happening.
Yeah. And he got really obsessed with it throughout his life, pretty much.
Well, and like something to like point out too is that what Zodiac would do, he would send letters to the press, so like the three major distributors of newspapers in this part of California, with taunting like letters and what are they called? Ciphers.
His puzzles.
Like his puzzles, his like encryptions and stuff. And Robert, who was kind of a puzzle lover, became obsessed with trying to crack this code that was being sent. Yeah.
Also, like, so Robert Gray, I mean, he's really only known for this and then another true crime book that was also turned into a film called Autofocus.
I really want to watch that. I watched the trailer when I was doing research.
Really? What was it about again?
The murder of Bob Crane.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I think I saw that and it just like was like, I don't know what that is.
The star of Hogan's Heroes.
Oh, interesting.
And like,
okay.
He had like a big sex tape controversy.
Oh, weird.
And at this time it was, that's a big deal. Like,
yeah.
And it looked interesting. It has Willem Dafoe and Greg Kinnear, is that his name?
Oh yeah, I remember seeing the poster of it.
Yeah, and I was like, I've never seen those two in a movie together, and I would like to see that. Yeah.
So if it's because of autofocus that this movie was kind of able to get made,
because it was like another book by Robert.
Yeah, because this autofocus came out in like the 90s, if I saw correctly.
I didn't see the year, but just by the quality that it looked and their age, I would say something like
So I know, like, what's interesting, I was just recently I was looking at the development for this in general, and Vanderbilt had been interested in it and had kind of approached Graysmith, but Graysmith had kind of already sold the rights to the Zodiac, his book, for there to be a movie at one point, or at some point I should say. And then finally, like, Fincher kind of got involved as well. And Fincher really wanted to make sure that it was as accurate as possible to the actual events, and not just like the actual events of like through Graysmith's like novel, but like he actually, like, they went through and they like interviewed all of the police detectives that were still alive for the case. And like Fincher like really went into like getting as specific to details. Like he didn't want it to just be a retelling of like an idea of the Zodiac, which, I mean, so they
because even in this too, the Zodiac takes kind of like a backstage,
but he doesn't.
But he does.
No, it's like this thing is like he does, but he doesn't, and we'll get into that because that's one of the interesting things that I wrote down about narrative for me.
Okay.
What was I saying with that? Oh yeah. Also a little the trivia nugget of trivia is the attack on the couple by the lake, where they actually get, like, we get our like picture of what the Zodiac looked like, was all dressed up as for that one. They filmed that in the exact same location it actually happened in, the exact same spot.
That's terrifying.
On the exact same day.
That's terrifying.
Like Fincher wanted to get strangely that accurate to it.
That's terrifying.
And the dude that like lived through it was there helping them be like as specific to detail as possible. And like he was like he had some flashbacks while he was there, pretty much.
Terrifying. Yeah. So just a little more on Robert. So Graysmith also then at this point, because of his obsession with Zodiac, also wrote actually 5 other high-profile crime novels. He wrote one called Sleeping Lady about the Golden Gate Killer, the murder of Bob Crane that we talked about, which Autofocus is based off of. He wrote one about the Unabomber, and then he wrote one, and I love the title, Amerithrax.
Oh, it was about the anthrax?
And the anthrax thing. And then one that I thought was just kind of interesting was Bell Tower, and it was about Jack the Ripper.
Oh, interesting.
Which I was very surprised he went that far back, and kind of also picked a very also mysterious,
unsolved kind of
thing. I'm like, didn't we already do this? Maybe you should try and do ones that are actually have an ending for you. Because
because of his obsession with Zodiac and just all of his like, he went from being just like a cartoonist to becoming a fucking high profile true crime writer.
Yeah.
And it's because of his obsession with stuff, and like he lost 2-3 marriages.
Well,
his first marriage was already
he was
over.
already divorced, and then we see him go through another kind of breakup due to this obsession. Yeah, and apparently his obsession got to the point that his wife left him, basically. Yeah. Because he was hyper-focusing and not doing his partnership duties.
Yeah, which happens to people with real passion. Sorry. Oh, do you want to start?
I would love to steal a jigsaw piece from this guy.
Jesus Christ. You dick.
Nice
callback. Nice callback. Yeah, let's go into who it's starring. So I would say
a first for us, right?
Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yeah.
I think we've kind of talked about him here and there, but yeah, no, this is our first Jake Gyllenhaal movie, which... let's see. I mean, most recent people would probably recognize him from Spider-Man, Far From Home. Most probably recognized for Donnie Darko.
Yeah, I would say Donnie Darko or Brokeback.
Yeah, Brokeback Mountain. Also, just for fun, I was like, oh yeah, he's in City Slickers.
Yeah, I always forget about that until I see him.
Yeah. One movie that I need to rewatch. It was really strange. I loved it when I was a teenager.
Nightcrawler? No.
Bubble Boy.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Which also has John Carroll Lynch in. I think he plays if I remember correctly, he plays his dad.
Interesting.
But one that's I think a lot like there's two that I put on here that are really heavy, that are really good watches. I don't know if you've seen his Brothers with Tobey Maguire.
I haven't seen that yet.
That is really fucking good. That is super tense.
That's why I've never been in the mindset to watch it, because I've seen clips of it and there's a lot of screaming and a lot of...
It's about PTSD.
Yeah, and there's a lot of breaking of stuff.
Yeah, Tobey Maguire is phenomenally... He's terrifying in the movie. Like, it's weird to say Tobey Maguire being terrifying, but he is terrifying in it.
I mean, have you ever seen Spider-Man 3?
Emo dance. Insert emo dance. And then End of Watch, which I don't know if you've seen that with Michael Pena.
Mm-mm.
That's an intense, fun cop, cop movie. Just because of like their partnership as cops, they just accidentally bust. They do it just like casually watching people like kind of like doing some selling out of a house. They go in as just two cops, do this huge drug bust on accident, kind of become heroes, and then all of a sudden the fucking cartel's after them. It's really cool and intense.
Nice.
Yeah.
I want to recommend Nocturnal Animals. That movie was really, really good.
He plays kind of a bad guy in that, doesn't he?
No, he plays it's interesting.
Or I'm thinking of Nightcrawler, aren't I?
I think you're thinking of Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
No, Nocturnal Animals.
Two movies that I haven't seen, so.
Yeah, I haven't seen Nightcrawler, but Nocturnal Animals is a really interesting concept because he's a writer and his ex, or about to be ex, is reading his newest screenplay about a double murder of a wife and daughter, and the father kind of like trying to get revenge.
Oh, interesting.
But as she's reading, so she's dealing with her relationship with Jake Gyllenhaal and their whole mess, but as she's reading his new manuscript, you're watching the murder and the story unfolds. So you're watching two entirely different movies at the same time, but they're tied together.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
It's super intense, and like I could see even the intro, people jumping out immediately. And it's one of those. It was a trend on a while for Instagram and TikTok where blind react to the intro to this movie.
Oh yeah.
And so I went, well, I gotta watch this now. And it's like 3 hours long or 2 something, and I was enthralled with it. But I highly recommend that.
Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal. I noticed that he has like 8 or 9 projects right now in post production or something. He's about to have a lot of shit come out.
He's about to pop up.
Yeah, I mean, also he's a wonderful fucking actor.
He was really cute in this. Like in the beginning when he's this like little like Boy Scout, like doesn't smoke, doesn't curse, doesn't drink, like
it's weird to think that he was kind of like. There's like you looked at it first like in his earlier career like the young, innocent, naive boy, and now he's kind of turned into something different.
But even then too though, but it's like even his early career, you have Donnie Darko, Jarhead, a lot of like not light. The lightest one that stuck out to me was City Slickers, and he's in that movie for 10 minutes.
Well, Bubble Boy, like I said.
Oh yeah, Bubble Boy.
But like even a Donnie Darko, yeah, it's like that movie itself is just kind of like a dark, crazy, weird thing. But he's kind of like supposed to be kind of still presented as like a sweet boy that just has mental.
I really don't like that movie.
When's the last time you watched it?
Not in a long time.
I wonder if a rewatch would. Yeah. Anywho, let's move on. Let's do Mark Ruffalo next.
Yeah.
Who I think is really the next lead more than anybody, in my opinion.
I would say so.
Which we actually did already kind of talk about him, so it's kind of just really quick. He's the Hulk in the MCU. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind was what we recently did with him in 13 Going on 30 Foxcatcher.
Brothers Bloom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Robert next.
Yeah.
Which actually, Robert Downey Jr., he has a smaller role in this movie.
Yeah, but he was a big name put on it.
Yes.
And I think that's a lot.
Not only that, but like Paul Avery is a very important character for Robert. Right?
Yeah.
Well, also, Jake Gyllenhaal plays Robert Graysmith in the movie.
He plays the author of the book.
Mm-hmm. So all of these actors are playing real life people.
Which is weird to do as well.
Yeah.
These are all... Even like I was like, oh yeah, he's really cute in this. It's like, well, he's cute playing an actual man that exists in... Like
You're saying Robert Graysmith is very cute.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr., Tropic Thunder.
I knew that was going to be the first one. We haven't brought that up in a while.
No, we haven't. Natural Born Killers, which you brought up last week. Less Than Zero, which is one of his like big breakthrough roles. Back in the 80s. Yeah.
Which I don't remember Gothica. I want to watch that again. That's with
Halle Berry.
Halle Berry, right?
Yeah,
and it's like a psychological horror or
John
something.
Carroll Lynch is in that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really want to... I remember thinking that movie was aesthetically really cool.
I mean, it was one of those movies that it made me scared of blinking lights. Like I'd be walking down the street and the street light started. I was like, nope, don't like that.
All right, I'm gonna watch that again.
Very interesting. It's definitely more of a psychological thriller because of the mental stuff that Halle Berry's character is going through.
Right. Okay.
And yeah. Let's see. He's Iron Man. We didn't bring. He's Iron Man.
He's Sherlock.
He's Sherlock.
Which also Sherlock 3 is in production, which I'm very excited for.
Okay. Yeah, you know how.
I don't
He's also he plays Charlie Chaplin in the Charlie Chaplin biopic, which I think did he get nominated for that? Don't quote me on that, but it was like him, like, the young actor, really showing that him going from like Less Than Zero and some like of the Brat Pack stuff that like him being into breaking through into a Hollywood, like more like the Hollywood spotlight thing.
Yeah,
you know, like going to be a legit actor. Yeah,
I was like found it interesting too because we talked about his whole like kind of going off the radar for a while,
which he didn't
really. We just didn't see a lot of his stuff.
I think just because of like what was going on with his personal issues, a lot of those movies during that time they just didn't really like promote.
Yeah, like there's not a single gap.
Yeah,
at all.
He was like I feel like it was once maybe it was when he was on Ally McBeal it happened. Anywho, well, Iron Man was kind of his redemption, you know? Like, that's when it's like, and Robert Downey Jr. is back. I got next Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, because he's the other detective.
Yeah, and really, his most famous thing would be the show ER. He was on it for like almost 10 years.
He's Goose in Top Gun.
Yeah. He was in Revenge of the Nerds. And he's a voice in a Disney movie called Planes that I did not know existed.
Is it like Cars?
100%.
Yeah, but planes.
But planes.
Instead.
Yeah, Dane Cook does a voice in it.
Random.
It was a direct-to-video thing. Well, it was supposed to be direct-to-video, but they actually did a theatrical release that actually garnered some money. It was, I don't know, I was looking at that, and then it made me think, like, oh, I wonder if we should like do some like Disney box office flop stuff.
That'd be fun.
Or like under the radar Disney stuff as a block. Yeah. Think about that. Anything else for him?
No.
Then I would say Chloe Sevigny and John Carroll Lynch would be just like kind of quick nods to, especially John Carroll Lynch.
Sorry, no, I have something down written for Anthony Edwards.
Oh, something else?
FT at RH. FT at RH.
50? As in 50?
No, FT.
FT
at RH.
At RH.
Stop.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
There you go.
Yeah, he plays it's like one of his earlier.
Yeah, like
he just plays a stoner
like
guy.
Like a Nicolas Cage kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just thanks you. I was like, what is
Yeah,
that?
it was like, what?
Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Yeah. All right. So John Carroll Lynch, who is one of those guys that you'll recognize from a lot of stuff in the past, but most recently
this movie itself has a lot of people like
there's
that.
a lot of people in this movie.
Yeah.
But most recently he's a recurring actor in American Horror Story. Mm-hmm. He plays like the killer clown in Freak Show.
Was it Jingles?
In 84.
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays like Jingles, the janitor.
Mm-hmm. And he's the clown in was that in Freak Show?
Yeah,
wow, that was in Freak Show. But that character comes back, right?
I do not. We already tried this once. We're not doing it again. Was that a recording or was that just us talking?
I don't remember, man.
I think we did do a try to do a deep dive timeline.
Oh, that's right. Oh my, that was
rough.
That was rough. Yeah,
because it's also because all the actors that were similar. So she played the vampire, but then later she played.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. We found the really cool video that did the timeline.
Yeah. But that was brutal.
Okay.
I just want to say too that he's also in a show called Channel Zero, and if it's on Shudder. If you have that, which is connected to AMC, and it's very much like American Horror Story. It's less fantastical, I guess, in a way.
Okay,
it's not grounded because there's still monsters and stuff, but it's a season by season anthology horror show, and it's one of those read the synopsis of each season because some of them are really interesting and pretty fucking creepy.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for another kind of like American Horror Story-esque thing, Channel Zero, recommend highly.
I mean, I really recommend or recognize him from the Drew Carey show. Actually, he plays
Steve Carey.
Yeah, he plays his brother. Yeah, his older brother. Yeah. Who actually at some point in the show he comes out as a cross-dresser, but he's straight, so he just likes to be in women's clothes.
I don't remember the Drew Carey show that well.
I watched a lot of it because it was when Whose Line was like super popular as well.
What happened to Drew Carey?
He's the host of The Price is Right.
Oh, okay. That's why he doesn't do Whose Line.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But like, so there would be episodes of the Drew Carey show where like people, well, because some of the cast from Whose Line was also on Drew Carey show, but they would bring in like the people that would be on Whose Line, and they would start doing improv games in the Drew Carey show. So like they would do a live recording of the Drew Carey show, but there'd be like a new line, so they would have to like change the line from the script on the fly
and to make it make sense as best as they could.
Yeah, well, just for like a joke and whatnot. It was actually really cool. I really liked the Drew Carey show. And then I just found it interesting that he was in Gothica with Robert Downey Jr. and then Bubble Boy with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah. And
recently he was in The Founder with Michael Keaton, which is an amazing history about how McDonald's was found.
Oh, is that with
Michael Keaton?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was great. I didn't mean to actually go down that far with John Carroll Lynch.
Any honorable mentions?
Chloe Sevigny I did want to bring up.
Also American Horror Story.
Yep.
Hotel, I think.
No. Was it Hotel?
Yeah.
Wait, she's an American Horror Story?
Yeah.
She's an American Psycho.
Yeah, I thought she was an American Horror Story too. Maybe I'm totally confusing.
Are you thinking about Allison Pill in Cult?
No.
Which season?
And she's in Hotel. She's the 10 Commandment killer's wife, the doctor.
Oh, so she's like in an episode.
No, she's like recurring. She's like a huge point at the end of the plot of it.
I just don't remember that, I guess.
Yeah, I was like, that's my favorite season. I don't think I have that wrong, but I want to double check. But yeah, she's also in Hotel. Well, just doing that crossover thing.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, she's also, they worked together before.
Well, I don't think he was part of that season, but.
No, but you know.
Yeah. She got started in Kids, which is a crazy fucking movie. Boys Don't Cry, sad fucking movie. She has a very interesting career, honestly. Mm-hmm. But yeah. Do you have any other honorable mentions?
I want to bring up Brian Cox just because I like Brian Cox. He was what's his butt in
X-Men 2.
What's his name?
Stryker.
Yeah, he's Stryker in X2 and Agamemnon and Troy.
Yeah.
He's just got a really good presence. Even when he's in this movie too, he's a very subtle character, but just his voice and everything about him, I just love.
Such a fucking jackass in this movie. Well, I mean, he's a real person too.
And there's a bunch of like, funny enough too. I won't go through all the names, but all the like captains and lieutenants of all the different police precincts are all somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like you're like, hey, you're in this too. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
But they're on screen maybe 6 minutes
like
altogether.
Donald, who the guy that is in Gotham.
Yeah, he's a cop. He's a lieutenant in this. Dermot, I can never say his last name.
From Family Stone.
Yeah. What's his name?
I can't remember. His pronunciation last name. Mulroney or something.
Mulroney, yeah. Falcone. Dermot Falcone.
So just really quick, who Zodiac was, because he's kind of, in a weird way, he's kind of a character in this, but not, Anyway, so all I really have for him is that he was an active serial killer from, technically, that we are aware of, is December of 1968 to October of 69. And during that time he only took five lives, but he's over the time period from 66 to 70 something. He claimed to have done 37.
Yeah, there are 5 confirmed. Mm-hmm. But then there is speculation that he was also taking credit for other murders.
Yeah,
that he did not actually commit.
Because also the biggest thing is that there is 5 confirmed, because those are the 5 actual police filed cases for.
Yeah. All with the same kind of MO.
Ish, yeah. And they span up and down California. Yeah. These 5 are all within county lines of each other, which is a very interesting thing about why it took them so long to really kind of piece this shit together.
Yeah.
But yeah, he kind of he claimed that he had done a lot more of that, climbed kind of up and down northern and southern California.
Yeah.
But there was no police file report, no bodies found. Oh no, it was people were saying missing person, but he was like, no, I did that. Or how did it work out actually?
No, because even then he would
What do you just say? I just killed somebody, and this is what the details were? Or
yeah, I mean that's what Paul Avery brings up to Robert, is that he is taking claim, he's lying, because he's taking claims of these murders that all the details in his letters, as opposed to his other letters that had specific details cops would only know.
Yeah,
he was taking details from already written articles.
I see.
That's why he was I think he's claiming a lot of stuff that he's not actually doing.
That makes sense. Okay. Because I was having a hard time wrapping my head around all of that.
Yeah. This movie is almost 3 hours long, and it does span from 69 to 91. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of names and a lot of details, so this is something you got to really pay attention to. So we're not going to at all try and do a play-by-play. We're just going to talk about the movie as a whole, because it's a lot of information.
The original cut was over 3 hours, and I kind of want to watch. I just want to watch that at cutouts. I don't think I need to watch the full 3 hour version, but I would like to see that extra half hour.
You know what? Make it into a miniseries, and you'll binge it in a day.
Right?
Jesus. No, but actually, with this, this could actually do. Especially with it being a lot about the writers and the cops and stuff, you could actually translate this into a miniseries and give a lot more detail about each of the individuals involved.
Yeah.
And it would work out really well.
Oh, yeah. Because especially
how this movie's already set up.
Yeah, well, and then it's just how the Zodiac himself, the reason why he's so infamous isn't just because he was never technically officially caught. It was his way to get into the media's eyes. He would send the stuff to the newspapers of a letter with a cipher, like we said, and he wanted that to be posted on the front page because he wanted people to solve it and all this stuff.
He wanted notoriety.
Yeah, and the way that he did all of it, it was just very. Because generally a serial killer is they're gonna kill somebody. They don't really want it to really be seen. If anything, they kind of want to. I guess serial killers, one of their big MOs, is they want to be involved with the case, but they don't really want it to be spreading around I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, no, but I mean that's that whole thing too. A lot of the time, they say that a lot of the killer might want to help get caught.
Yeah,
on a certain level. Which kind of seems like what the Zodiac was doing, but wanted to make it as hard as possible.
Yeah.
To do so.
Well, no, it's really at the beginning is when that first cipher is presented for them to put into the newspapers. He says that my name will be inside of here, And then Robert Graysmith's like, his name's not going to be in that. He's not going to tell you his name.
Yeah.
You know, and then he didn't, you know. So, yeah, let's go into reviews now.
Okay, yeah. Reviews. So on Metacritic, this has 35 positive, 5 mixed, and 0 negative.
Really? 0 negative?
Yeah.
That actually does surprise me.
The mix did go down. So Metacritic does out of the 100.
Yeah.
The mix did go down to 50. So barely meet the... Barely. I went with Roger Ebert at Chicago Sun-Times. Its most impressive accomplishment is to gather a bewildering labyrinth of facts and suspicions over a period of years and make the journey through the maze frightening and suspenseful.
Yeah.
Jonathan Rosenberg at Reader. In some ways, for better and for worse, this is even more about Graysmith, who became obsessed with the solving Zodiac killings that terrorized Northern California in the late 60s than the actual murder. Which, I'm like, that's kind of like the point. And then the one, I went and actually looked up the San Francisco one. Yeah. Which I thought was really funny because I didn't think about, maybe I should actually look up the newspaper that was around during this whole thing. So a little bit of it is San Francisco Chronicle by Mick Lassalle never takes off, but it never collapses. At times, it becomes frustrating. For example, about 30 minutes are spent pursuing the lead that goes nowhere. And that made me hysterically laugh because that's exactly what the fucking people involved were dealing with, but for decades. Following these leads that just went, blap. Like,
that's interesting. That's kind of a fun
little correlation.
Yeah, I don't know if Fincher and Vanderbilt meant to really do it like that, but that's interesting how it does play out that way.
Yeah, it's like, no, there are multiple leads they were following that just, because circumstantially they couldn't.
Well, isn't he saying but you're saying like in his review, he's talking about you're following a lead character and then it goes nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just was like, well,
yeah.
That's what these lead characters dealt with for 10 years.
Yeah. Oh man.
I just thought that was funny.
No, I mean, those are pretty good. And like, see how what the theme you were saying was obsession, right?
Yeah.
So, which is very fitting. And it's interesting because, I mean, you want to kind of believe that Graysmith and then even Toki, Dave. We'll just call him Dave.
Because I kept trying to get his last name, but I kept missing it.
Dave and Graysmith are the main characters in a way. Like Graysmith, you feel a lot more because this is his book. This is kind of like the narrative that he was creating and like was finding and whatnot. But the presence of the Zodiac himself is through this entire movie. So what we're doing is like the main character of this movie is the case of the Zodiac.
Yeah, and even with this review too, like about how it's about Graysmith, not really the murderer, and it's like, well, yeah, it's because we don't for sure know who the murderer was and what the full purpose behind the murders are. Like we don't have at this time, and maybe one day it will come up. We don't have a manifesto. We don't have a Unabomber manifesto explaining why they're doing what they're doing. So it's like, you can't really make an entire movie unless you're going to make an entire movie utterly based on speculation, 100%.
Tarantino it.
You're going to Inglourious Bastards it.
Yeah, you make some revisionist history.
Yeah, you can't make it about Zodiac.
Or how Black Dahlia is.
Yeah, exactly. Or From Hell, you know. It's you need to do, if you're trying to make something at least remotely accurate, you need to follow the real people that can sit there and be like, this is what happened and why this happened.
Exactly.
So it's like, of course the movie is going to be about the writer and the cops and the journalists and...
Well, yeah, and that's why I say it's like... it's because it's not necessarily we're seeing this case through the eyes of the people that experienced it. So it's weird, and I think it's a really well-crafted thing that Vanderbilt and Fincher did, was that they created this narrative that isn't necessarily based on the characters. It's how the characters are getting affected by this non-visible person.
This looming threat.
Yeah, so that's why I was like, when we were talking earlier, you were like, Zodiac's not really a character in this. I'm like, nah, he actually is the main character.
No, but that's the thing, though. The Zodiac isn't the idea of the Zodiac.
Yes, exactly.
The persona of...
Yes.
Not Not Lee, the Zodiac
Like,
Killer. It is just the Zodiac.
A construct of a thing of it's the case. Really, like the case, this untangible thing that we can't actually communicate with, is the main character of this story.
Yeah,
and how
that's interesting to put it in how they're interacting with this quote unquote character.
Yeah,
that's an interesting idea. Actually.
Yeah, and that's why I think this movie is successful. Is that they were able to make that it's just subtly the focus, that we're not really noticing that because we just get captivated in like where these people are going. And like, yeah, when all of a sudden Graysmith's character kind of like falls off and
then we follow
Dave's arc, and like how they like do a great like intersection of just like you're following Graysmith with the beginning of it, and Paul Avery and the Chicago or the San Francisco Chronicle, right?
Yeah,
San Francisco Chronicle, and how they're dealing with it, and then you get introduced to Dave with when the taxi driver gets murdered, and they have the stuff.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting.
And then their paths cross as characters, and then Graysmith's role and Paul Avery in the Chronicle kind of like are still there, but kind of fade into the background, while now we're following
more of the detective
work and all that stuff, and we find out that because of the different counties and jurisdictions, they can't really share information. This is before the time of email, and even like half these places, like we don't have the fax technology yet.
Yeah,
so they have to either mail stuff, or someone has to drive over and pick it up, or drop it off.
6 hours, or
so you're seeing like this because of this and a couple other serial killer cases. Is when they started like wanting to have there be more like cross share like jurisdictional wise stuff. It became more of statewide as opposed to county wide.
Yeah, I mean, that's why this
is
like kind of in a weird way. This whole time frame is the golden age of serial killers.
Yeah, exactly.
Because information you have to drive 6 hours, and then those cases may never be linked.
Which is like Zodiac possibly is kind of aware of that, which is why he's crossing county lines in each different fucking murder. You know,
because he knows it would be harder to pin them together.
Exactly. He's making a puzzle for the police. So, and that's so like, as I was saying with the narrative, like we kind of get this intersection, and then it follows the detectives, but then they kind of keep up a little bit with Graysmith and Avery, which, I mean, those scenes are kind of the least captivating of it all, because what you really want to do is it's like, I feel like that's a moment. It's like, well, this is still a narrative about people, so we need to like make sure that we keep track of like where they're at in the story and in the timeline. And it, you know, it works and whatnot. But then once, it's when is it's like all of a sudden it's like in the early 70s, and they just haven't gotten anything from the Zodiac, and they're just about to drop it, and then Graysmith is like, wait, no, this can't just drop it, you know. And then we pick back up with Graysmith starting to get obsessed.
Yeah. Well, no, and then his like real like thing too is that final letter that was written to Detective Dave, Inspector Dave,
the one that they thought was his handwriting,
the one that he got blamed for.
Yeah, because they thought that he was just doing it to keep media attention on it or something.
Yeah, like Internal Affairs thought.
Yeah,
it was suspicious that after, and that's the whole thing too. Is that,
and this is also right after his partner was like, "I'm done. I'm retiring." Yeah, or I asked for a transfer.
Well, it's interesting too. It's that like it got to the point where, at least this is again depicted how it is depicted in the film, and like my speculation on top of that as well is that the Zodiac had been quiet for so long. Suddenly now, and it was like, yeah, like you said, 74 or something like that.
Well, it was 74 was when he did his last letter, and then he went to jail in 75, and then it wasn't until 3 or 4 years later, when he's then released from prison, that another letter is then sent.
Yeah, and this is if Lee, what's his name?
Arthur Lee.
Arthur Lee was the Zodiac. But it's just like
Arthur Lee Allen, I want to say.
Yeah, and Internal Affairs themselves too are like, this is really suspicious that also after all this time, then your name is the first one to pop up in a letter, and we haven't seen one in how long.
Yeah.
No, it's just like also like kind
of no, that's like there's the letter that shows up in 74 that he gets fired for, and then in 77 he gets the letter of like, oh, I'm sorry to hear about that. I want to help.
The typed one.
Yeah, the typed one.
I'm just talking about Internal Affairs, just immediately going like, well, obviously you're involved because your name's in it. And it's just like, well, I mean, that's kind of a It's a jump, but not a jump.
Yeah.
It's
Well, and then like the big drama for like probably the latter half of it is how, because of that internal affairs thing, and then how Grace Smith gets really obsessed with it. Grace Smith is asking for confidential files from Toshi.
yeah, and he kind of goes on this like little like sleuth kick.
Yeah, he goes like, and because of that, Toshi gets fired. Because it comes out that he's been talking about the case and giving information to Grace Smith.
Civilian, yeah.
To a civilian. So, like, yeah. I don't know. It's like, yeah, no, like, it's the interesting thing with this movie is really just like how the narrative unfolds and keeps you actually kind of captivated for how long it is without you actually really seeing like a complete well, in a regular narrative, you see like your hero go through their hero's journey. I mean, Grace Smith's hero's journey, he doesn't really get anything out of it because we don't have any conclusion at the end. We don't really know who it is, but they lean really hard into thinking about this person because that's really going into where Grace Smith was thinking for it, you know? Because even like the whole swerve of like, it's Rick Marshall, you know?
Yeah.
I did like that was like one of the most disinteresting moments, but one of the most tense moments as well.
Well, that's like interesting, like to go in the idea of like obsession about it. So you had like Paul Avery, who was a journalist that called the Zodiac a latent homosexual, which then kind of turned the Zodiac sights on him, and he gets threatened. And a year goes by and nothing's happened to him, and it shows his obsession. Because he's already been drinking and smoking. He's that kind of guy. Yeah. But because of this year that goes by with this threat looming over him, you see him spiraling.
Oh, yeah. He just becomes the wreck of a man.
He kills himself, basically.
Yeah, he drinks himself to death.
Basically. And
well, he didn't pass away till like 1990.
Well, yeah, but I just mean but they also show him
killing himself.
Yeah, and they show him looking, every time you see him every couple of years, he's looking worse and worse. Yeah. So there's like his thing. And then there's also Dave, where he has the obsession, but he actually gets to the point of, I'm done. I'm done with this. Like,
it's
I need
affecting my career,
my home life. Like, I need, for like my own salvation and my family's, I need to be done with this.
Well, it's like even his partner, who is like, I asked for the transfer. I just can't. I can't
call.
I can't do this anymore.
But with his partner, it also just seemed like in general, he's like, I'm done waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning looking at dead bodies. Like, I just can't do this anymore. So they both are like, we're out, kind of thing. And then you have Grace Smith, who Richard Grace Smith, and I just called him Grayson. Robert, Richard. Anyways, I was wondering what I was calling. I keep calling him Grayson. It's fucking Nightwing.
That's hilarious.
But then even like with his obsession arc is really interesting too, because he gets obsessed and he gets to the point where he's honestly putting his family at risk. Yeah. But his obsession won't let him stop. Yeah. And even to the point where he's putting himself in very stupid ass peril with these strangers. Like, oh, you might have information about the Zodiac. We have no idea who he is. You want me to come over to your house? Sure. You're like,
it's the 70s. Everybody's a
little like, what the fuck? Don't go to his house. Yeah. You like that whole thing. Like, oh, there's a coffee shop right here. Do you want to come to my house? No, let's go to the coffee shop. Yeah. Let's do that. Like, but yeah, just like, I guess those are like the three, because those are like our three main.
Yeah. Well, and even like the Zodiac's obsession with
just
being Zodiac.
And being famous and like, yeah.
I really love the quote. I forget exactly what it is. Maybe you can help me. But like with Grace Smith, when he's like, all I want to do is to be able to solve this and look at the person dead in the eye. Or I want to be able to just like look the person in the eyes and know who it is.
And know it's him.
Yeah. And that's kind of what this movie ends on, is Grace Smith, which apparently, so that was more of a dramatized thing.
Yeah, apparently it was like in the parking lot and they were sitting in their cars. Or something like that.
Grace Smith had been staking out the hardware shop for a while. And while he was in his car, Lee pulled up next to him to where he couldn't open up his car door and just stared at him. So through car window.
Why'd they change that?
I don't know, because that's intense.
That would have been that would have been cool.
I think that what they want. It's
weird to say that'd be cool if that really happened and that happened.
Well, because then also, because what ended up more happening is that Grace Smith was then sending friends in there to like get his signature because they were still trying to prove his handwriting thing.
Oh, yeah. So like a big thing about this case is they were really using the letters from the Zodiac to then get writing from suspects to match the handwriting. I can't remember what that's called.
Cryptology.
Sure.
Let's not quote that.
Okay. But yeah, so like a lot of these suspects would end up falling short because of the fact that the handwriting wouldn't match. And then also one of Lee was never actually arrested because DNA from one of the letters did not match his DNA. So that was thrown out. They just didn't. There's a
print
lot
didn't match. His handwriting didn't match, but then he's ambidextrous, and they kept speculating on like, well, what like if he's writing with one hand and the other hand could be a little bit different, and the handwriting specialist like, no, I've never known anybody to have something that different. It's like they're anomalies.
And obviously I've never
but then it's like speculation, you know.
But that's the problem. That's like the problem with the speculation thing. But that's also like it's a double-edged sword, speculation, you know, like it can help out and can be detrimental. But something that I thought was interesting, and I would like to actually read the book and maybe just get more about this, that it just was like never once did it come up. Why are you assuming it's one person?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Why are you all we're just, at least in this movie, all assuming that it's just one person that's a Zodiac?
Well, that is one little alluded thing when he's at that guy's house for the Rick Marshall one, was that I did read somewhere with the speculation of Rick Marshall is that if anything, it would have been Rick Marshall and someone else,
an accomplice.
Yeah, which
I'm like, this whole thing to me screams like it wasn't one person.
I think it was Lee, honestly.
And then Lee, before any kind of trial could happen, he died of like a heart attack.
Heart attack, yeah. There was something where there was more evidence that was kind of leaning towards it could possibly be him in the 80s. And, oh, that's right. They showed at the very end, the survivor that ran away, the kid that was shot at the very beginning.
Yeah, but even if you read more into that, that's also circumstantial, because even he says it would, like, the cops were like, it wouldn't stand up in court because of the way he described it. From the bright light, only barely seeing his silhouette, like, it wouldn't have stood up in court.
Really?
Yeah. Like, they don't think it would have. Because he'd been shot, blood loss, fear,
everything,
every aspect of it. It's like that the defense might very easily throw that out and be like, that's completely circumstantial.
Yeah, I mean,
because that point too, if everything that all you'd be going on, and that's what a lot of this movie talks about too, is they know that he's white and they know his build.
Yeah,
and that's about it. And he wears glasses. Cool. Narrows it down.
And I mean, then glasses can be taken off.
Yeah, so it's
Thank you, Clark Kent.
Yeah. And he has a size 10.5 shoe. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and size 7 gloves.
Yeah. So it's like there's nothing. Everything about him was an enigma. Like he was just it's just really bizarre.
Very bizarre. One of the things that I really appreciated with this movie was the use of sound to visual. Like how, like one of the moments that really stood out to me was the taxi driver murder, because how the camera just like goes to that bird's eye view and you're like following the taxi, and you're kind of captivated by what the
movie shot well.
Yeah, how the taxi is driving and whatnot, but you hear the radio and how they're talking about the Zodiac. And really what you end up kind of getting lost into is the audio of it all and like what you're hearing. And then the next thing you know, you're cutting to this cab driver getting shot, and it's jarring. You're like, oh shit.
But you kind of know.
Kind of? I don't know.
Well, because
I was so distracted because like that's one thing I was like, it was really good use to like kind of like throw off the scent of like what's happening in the scene, to then have it just happen. You're like, oh shit.
Well, I mean, but like something they kept doing was anytime the Zodiac was on screen, he was in shadow.
Yeah,
but not like overly. Like you'd see his like
you
torso.
get a good silhouette.
Yeah, and it was like, so you knew that the Zodiac was in the back seat. Did you assume he was going to shoot him? No, but you knew that was probably the Zodiac and something was going to happen.
Well, what was interesting is that it seemed like that scene was almost more going to be like a transitional scene of like
Now we're in San Francisco.
We're moving from one locale to another locale.
Well, technically it was.
No, exactly.
But there's also murder involved.
Yeah, I know. It was just like, oh, man.
Well, like something else to talk about the sound was also the lack of like the fact that when Grace Smith went and talked to Marshall's friend, all you heard was the rain outside.
Mm-hmm. And then you hear the weird footstep and the water running, and you're like, he said he was alone.
Yeah, and then the tea kettle going off in the background. Like it was all just it was just a quiet.
There's a build of tension, and it's like him getting the door and it's locked, and you're like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. It's like you're thinking like, oh my god, is he gonna die?
Yeah, like when did he write the book?
Yeah. But
it's also like considering we're talking about like obsession and everything, it's really this movie. It really makes sense how this really could, especially if you're in the thick of it, whether you're the journalist that was there from the first letter or the cop that's been trying to solve it for all this time and keeps coming up with this almost like even like one of Dave's obsessions too is he gets that cop thing where even he wants it to be somebody.
Yeah.
And even his captain brings it up too. Is like,
well, he kind of brings it up himself. He's like, I don't even know if it's, I just want it to be somebody.
Like,
so
if
it's
I believe
over.
it's him or if it's actually him, I just need he needs the period at the end of the page.
Yeah,
and I think that's when you start seeing him going, I'm never gonna get this. If I don't let go, it's gonna kill me.
Yeah,
and he finally just lets go.
Oh, like it'd be interesting to kind of point out is like, Dave is originally like blowing Grace Smith off. Until Grace Smith
starts pointing some stuff.
So it starts pointing out like a lot of things that they didn't see as detectives because they didn't have all of the pooled different counties of information really together in the right way.
Yeah, because also Grace Smith is literally popping to Vallejo, to back to San Fran, back over here. He's physically going and looking at all this stuff, and he's doing basically what they didn't do, because also at the end of the day, they're on the Zodiac case, but they're also family men. They have lives. They have other cases. They have
exactly.
But he sheds everything and just focuses on the Zodiac case in this obsessive way that makes him able to see these little
the way that he's able to and it's like when he pieces Darlene and Lee together, how he's like, Darlene lived here, Lee lived here in his mother's basement,
50 yards away. I know it. I walked it. You're like, oh.
You're like, oh, shit.
You're on the deep end.
Yeah. And that's when Dave is just kind of like, oh, fuck, he's onto something. But like he has to be super like careful with how he like
words things
and leads him.
I would never tell you to go talk to blank over at blank. I would never tell you to do that. And then he like spells out the name Naro, Narrow. Naro. I would never tell you to talk to them. But I mean, yeah, but it's just, I could totally see this like getting under someone's skin, like
100%,
especially because of the taunting.
Oh yeah,
like
didn't like his last cipher finally get like solved sometime in like the 2000s?
There, I think think from my last I read, and I think it was like 2020, something like that, maybe 2019. There is still one unsolved cipher.
Really?
There's still one that they haven't totally figured out.
Man.
But yeah, like we were talking, I think before this, there is a group of Don't Fuck with Cats, ex-private eyes and ex-cops and stuff that they work on cold cases. I can't remember what their name is now, but they work on cold cases together, and they feel that they have solved it, but the FBI has still ruled it an open case because it's circumstantial.
Is the other person, are they the other ones that have said the other guy, that most recent guy, or are they saying it would be Lee?
There's so much back and forth. I don't fucking know anymore.
Because like there was like Lee never could get it, but like there was the guy who has essentially quote unquote been like pinned for it. Where is it at here?
I mean the most
Gary Francis Post. and this was in October 6th of 2021.
Okay.
The Case Breakers, I think this is who you're talking about.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm talking about.
An independent team of 40 former law enforcement investigators, military agent officers, and journalists claim to have identified the Zodiac Killer as Gary Francis Post, but this information is not confirmed by Vallejo Police Department. The Case Breakers have requested that police test the DNA evidence to confirm him. However, said that the case is not solved and that the killer was not identified. So the Zodiac Killer case remains open. We have no new information to share at the moment, an FBI spokesman told CNN.
And do you know anything about this Post guy?
I tried to look him up and I didn't really see anything.
Well, I guess I have. It's not. Yeah. Well. And so so in the public eye,
it's like what? There's
Arthur
2,
Lee Allen is the prime
3,
suspect.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No, all right, I'm going to stop. Oh, wait, no, I think, Jesus Christ. There's a lot of, like, there's public speculation, a lot of, like, different people. And one of them that I was just looking at was, like, people think it could have been part of the people left over from the Manson family.
Yeah, I remember reading that one.
But, I mean, I don't know, just, like, I think...
Well, then also, they did the classic thing, too. At some point, they put a tip hotline.
Oh, that's right.
And he was getting like 500 calls a day.
Oh my God, that's right. There's a lot of really cool moments in the movie that they do a really good job of like showing and exploring like the frustrating police work that can happen, where you have like people just coming in and be like, yeah, this person was telling me the story, which I mean, it does work out for them because they do get the guy that talks about Lee, who's like where you find out Lee's past
about being obsessed with the most dangerous game and not obsessed, but
how he got arrested for touching a minor, and now he went on this fishing boat with this guy and told him pretty much verbatim what the Zodiac Killer was doing.
Yeah, and he had the Zodiac watch and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, like it all really does lead to Lee.
It does lead to Lee. What I'm actually now interested in, because like we have Graysmith's Zodiac story and whatnot. This whole one with the Case Breakers, I want to see a documentary with their information and why they're pointing at Gary Francis Post.
That'd be cool.
You know?
That would be cool.
Because
like what did they find that Graysmith didn't, or
the other detectives didn't? Yeah, like what are they seeing where it's like this guy? And why also, when it comes down to it, this guy doesn't even he's not even mentioned in this movie.
Well, I mean, it's so long after.
Well, yeah, but like how, like, is this a person that was this someone that they had on their suspect list back in the 60s, 70s that didn't pan out, or was this someone that they stumbled upon themselves?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Like, I want to actually know more about this. I'll return on the sleuths. What's happening? Indigo. Help us.
I was thinking, when we were doing research, I was like, God, I wish Indigo was around because this would be a perfect one to have her finally do our third person.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, in terms of a movie, though, like this is I think this movie is a great journey down the story of the Zodiac. But as a movie, how does it hold up?
I thought it was great.
Yeah?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I knew I was going to go in getting I would be a little bit frustrated at the end, but you don't ever know.
Yeah.
Right now who it is.
Yeah.
From the guise of Graysmith, it looks like it's Lee, but again, innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
Right now, he's not the Zodiac, so he's not the Zodiac. But in general, I really, really enjoyed it. For all the true crime people out there, I think you'd like it too. It is something I probably would not need to watch again anytime soon. Yeah,
I mean, that's why the first time I watched it was a couple years ago, and I was like, I'm good. It's just because it is kind of long
and it's heavy.
Yeah,
it's a lot of not only in the sense of it's a lot of information and just it's sleuthing. It's a lot of that, and you really get that feeling like you're going through this journey with them and these false leads and stuff. But then also there are depictions of violence, and they're pretty brutal. Like they don't leave a lot to the imagination. When it comes to they show murder, or like even that whole
when he's stabbing them in the back, I can just feel it.
The car scene,
when he gets shot.
No, the baby.
Oh God,
like that, you know, like all that kind of stuff. It's a very heavy movie, but it's definitely a mogwai. Like I really enjoy it, and everyone was really good. The only thing, like at one point, Avery and Dave are fighting, and I was like, oh no, Tony and Bruce, they're not getting along. And Robert Downey Jr., like he's great in it, but I mean he's very, you know, Tony Stark.
Yeah, he is kind of Tony Starkish.
He's sarcastic, and
he's when the devil in the bottle. Oh, that you don't know. That's the name when Tony is going through his alcoholism in the comics, which they kind of touch base in Iron Man 2. Yeah. The entire like story arc is called The Devil in the Bottle because he's like flat out struggling with alcoholism.
Okay.
Like they go a lot heavier into the comics with Tony.
I knew that, but I didn't know it was called. But you know, and then Mark Ruffalo was great in it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's well, and even the like we brought those like honorable mentions. Even the side characters are like great. Like
yeah.
The guy that plays Lee, what was his name?
John Carroll Lynch.
Yeah, and also I just like John Carroll Lynch.
He is really good. He's like a very like plain simple, regular looking guy that can really just like he can blend into like he's kind of chameleon into a lot of different roles.
Yeah, and it's also he's really good at this kind of stuff too because his face, he's kind of got like a soft like face, but he can turn on this like kind of subtle intensity, and then also his sheer size. Mm-hmm. He's a really tall, big dude.
He would probably play a great Lenny in Vice and Men.
Oh yeah, he probably could.
Yeah,
but like his sheer size too, it's like he could pick you up and throw you up against the wall, you know?
Yeah.
But he has this, like, the way he speaks, and he's kind of soft, and his mannerisms but he has this intensity about him. Mm-hmm. So...
Yeah, I mean, I definitely say this movie's a mogwai as well. The only things that it doesn't have, since it's not such a traditionally narrative-driven movie, I can see how, like, that second review that you read, the third review, the San Francisco Chronicle, uh-huh. How he was like, and then your lead character just falls off, and you know, it's like because it's not your traditional story. It's not your regular like Hollywood A B C D story. Like it kind of like
it's an ensemble.
Yeah,
you're following a bunch of different people.
It moves around, and yeah.
But the thing is, it moves around, but it's organic.
It is organic, but I don't think that's for everyone.
No,
like, I just don't see that. Yeah, I don't think this movie is for everyone. It is a wonderful movie. And I kind of see why, because of the reviews being like 7.7 on IMDb, I think is actually kind of low for this movie. I feel like this movie kind of should be up more in the 8s, but it's also not a classical narrative story type. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I feel like someone that listens to like
people that listen to true crime stuff would fucking love.
That's what I'm saying. Like if 100%, you like
yeah.
how My Favorite Murder.
Yeah,
like they go, okay, this is now we're in November 16th, 1979, and this is now we're following Graysmith, and this is what he was doing, you know, and it's just like that format is really good for people that like true crime podcasts and stuff like that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
So if you just go watch it.
Okay, has she not seen this yet? You know,
I don't know.
Oh. I wouldn't be surprised. Jake Gyllenhaal on it. So
does she like Jake Gyllenhaal?
No, yeah,
I did not.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to say? I feel like
I feel like if we keep going, we'll go down a rabbit hole that we won't get out of anytime soon.
Yeah, go sleuthing.
Go sleuthing. What are we doing next week?
Page Master, is that next week?
Yeah, because they're doing it chronologically, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna go a little light next week. We're gonna be doing Page Master. Yeah,
we're gonna go into animated, kind of like
starts off live action, goes into animated.
Yeah, children's stuff. So next week is Page Master, and the following week will be James of the Giant Peach.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what we're doing.
And we need a little.
We need to lighten it up a little bit. Yeah. It's been a lot of intensity. Cool. Yeah. So this is thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts,
Patreon,
Facebook.
We're on the internet.
We are. So yeah, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks guys.
This is Tommy.
This is Jacob.
This is Tommy and Jacob's Mixtape.